What's up, guys? This is Veilside, and today we're going to be talking about a very important thing for Tower of Fantasy. How many times have you seen people on YouTube or seen players complaining about who should I play and how can I become strong? So many people are complaining about their combat score and how to increase it, and today I'd like to talk about that. Now, first, as you notice, my combat score is really not the highest that you've probably seen. I am level 68, and I haven't really tried to even level, so I've just kind of played the game, and I've progressed in level quite fine. But and level does have something to say about your combat score, but combat score it has certain elements in it that you really kind of have to build together. So I'd like to talk about that today. I mean, you could go to YouTube and just watch a whole bunch of tier lists, which are really boring and subjective, to be honest, to try and figure out who is the best character to play as a shatter unit or a DPS unit or a healer. But really, that is just mostly people's opinions. Even if you watch from the CN version players who make tier lists, those tier lists, they're good and they can offer insight into who will be here next, um, and maybe the play style of the character, or the combination of the team that they put that character in. That can be helpful, but there also is a lot of subjectivity that comes along with those tier lists because it's based on people's preferences and likes and dislikes. So you can't always rely on that. So I'm going to try and be objective here in how to increase our combat score. So let me first just say that I kind of took the cautious approach when I first started playing, and I have been playing since launch. Um, my cautious approach was, I'm just gonna poll on this gotcha system and see what I get, but at the same time, I'm gonna stick with the support players. Now, I could have gotten Nemesis. I should have gotten Nemesis. She is really good, but I didn't. I didn't think she was that great. And at the same time, I was making a lot of different rerolls on different servers to try and get, some preferred SSRs that I wanted within my first hidden pity at 30, and then, of course, at 80. So I landed on this server, New Era, the American server, and I just stuck with being a healer. So I thought through it, and I was like, you know what? Being a healer is going to be really good for the longevity of my character, because as they continue to introduce new characters in the future, most of them are going to be either damage shatter units to shatter the shields of monsters, or DPS units to do a lot of damage. They're not going to frequently, um, you know, create new healers most of the time. Most games don't. There's just not a plethora of healers in games. So I just decided, I'm going to go with support. So if I choose ice, I'll have ice DPSs and ice shatter units to go with that ice healer. If I choose fire, I can have, fire units to go with that fire healer or support class. And same for Volt here with Pepper. So going back to the main purpose of this video, who should I play and how can I become strong, right? Well, who you play and it comes down to your personal preference, to a degree, but how you become strong is the same across the board. Okay, so if I were to encourage you on who you should play, just if you are a brand new, just download the game player and you want to get into Tower of Fantasy, the best way to go about it is to look at the characters. For example, actually, maybe even to go to this website instead. So if you go to this website, toweroffantasy.info, it is a website that kind of combines the American account and the CN server, right? So not all of these characters, for example, under Simulacra, we won't receive all of them. For example, I think it's already been confirmed that we're not going to get Mark and we're not going to get Bayuki. Okay. Now, also, this website is based on the perspective from the CN server. So if you click on, for example, Frigg, you're going to see different numbers. of Shatter, probably not Shatter or Charge, but when you get into the nitty gritty of her skills, you're going to see different percentages. Especially as you get into her advancement stars, or if you want to think of it in Genshin Impact terms, constellations, these numbers will be slightly different. Okay, so their whole approach is to balance the American servers, so there's not a lot of power creep, which I actually like that. So don't get discouraged just because your favorite simulacra is their stats are nerfed compared to the CN version. It's not a good comparison, honestly. So anyway, as you look through this website, you're going to see all these characters except Mark and Bayuki. Alice was just introduced, so we don't have her on America. So you see the CNs. We don't have Annabella yet. We don't have Tiang Lang, or Lyra, or Lin, or Sakifua yet, or Ruby, or Cobalt B. We're about to get her. We're about to get Sakifua, and hopefully Lin. We're about to get Ruby. But yeah, you could just look through these characters and see their different elements and their class. So Zero, for example, is a fire element, and he's a support class. We have Tsubasa as a ice element and a damage class. Okay, we have Shiro as a physical element and a damage dealer. We have Samir as a volt unit and a damage dealer, and so on. Okay, then Meryl, we have an ice element and we have a tank. So a shatter unit. Okay, King, for example, is a fire damage dealer. Crow is a volt damage dealer. Huma is a fire tank. Coco Ritter is an ice support class. Okay, and so on. So that's one good thing to do. Just figuring out what elements these characters are and what class they are. Okay. The most important thing, I think, though, for me personally, is to go based off resonance. Resonance is pretty cool. So Frigg, for example, has resonance. Here it is. Frost resonance. Increase frost attack by 15% and frost resistance by 25%. Okay? But not all frost characters have resonance, right? So if we go back and we check on Coco Ritter, for example, she doesn't have frost resonance. So not all of these characters have a resonance, but we do have, in the game right now on the American server, we do have Frigg as our frost resonance. We do have Nemesis as a volt resonance, okay? And we also recently got Claudia, who is our physical resonance. Where is she? Right here. Physical resonance, okay? So this resonance is essentially an attack buff and a defense buff, right? There you go. So with Tower of Fantasy, if you pair two characters together, especially if you pair one character with resonance with another of the same element that doesn't have resonance, that will actually activate the resonance. So the requirement is that for Frigg, for example, since she has frost resonance, she needs another frost weapon in her team to activate this resonance. But it's not like many games where you have to have 3 of the same element. So you can actually pair a fire element with 2 frosts, especially with that frost resonance, like I said. So that's what I've done here. I can switch in, for example, which I usually do play with Coco Ritter just because she's a really good healer, not because she's frost. But I do typically play with this as my DPS team. But for you, as a new player, or for someone who's trying to learn about the game, choose your character based on resonance, first of all. See what resonance characters are out there and choose that. Okay, then go based on play style, right? So with Frigg, for example, mainly what she does is she lays down this frost domain, and then you can infinitely dodge, and you essentially want to just dodge attack, dodge attack, dodge attack, dodge attack, and just keep doing this and that is what is going to get the most damage from Frigg, right? And you learn that as you go through her skills. So after you figure out a playstyle that you like, maybe watch some YouTube videos on certain characters, read through their skills. I mean, the numbers, the percentages, that might overwhelm you at first, but you will get used to it, okay? And then if you click on this question mark, you can go through her normal attacks, you can go through her dodge attacks, her skills, and her discharge skill, okay? Also, as you choose a character, if you don't know like what buttons to push, if you come over here on your mini map, there's this little exclamation point with a circle. If you click on that and then you go down to weapon skill, whatever weapon you're using, whether it's a bow or dual blades or long spear or shield axe, whatever, you have all these moves right here for you. So you can just try the combination and do it yourself. But as you learn how to press it, you need to understand what that move actually does, what that skill actually does, and you'll get that through this screen and through this magnifying glass here as you just read through these, okay? So if you go with Resonance, right now you technically, on the American server, have 3 options. You have Frigg, which you don't have her anymore unless you've been playing for a while and did get this character who has Resonance. You have Claudia, who her banner is going to be ending in a day or so. And we have Nemesis, whose banner is already passed. And unless you got her as well, you know. Let's say you got all 3 of them. All right, let's just go with that. So you have 3 characters that have Resonance. Meaning, you have 3 characters that you can just pair with another element, and that will activate that Resonance. So like here, I have Frigg and Meryl, and that activates Frigg's Frost Resonance because I have 2 ice units, even though I have a 3rd fire unit. It doesn't matter, I just need 2. Okay, so once you've figured that out, who you want to use based on playstyle, you also need to figure out if you want to be a tank, mainly, or if you want to be a DPS person, a damage per second person, someone who just deals damage in joint operation parties, or if you want to be a healer, you know. Healing is actually pretty fun. You don't get hit most of the time, but a lot of people run away from you heals, so it's kind of annoying as well. But typically people want to deal damage. And so that's kind of what we're going to talk about, how to deal damage, who you need to choose, how you can become strong, and how to actually play. So first off, you're going to choose your characters, you're going to choose your element, and you're going to stick with 3, right? So let's say you chose Ice like me, and you got Frigg, and you have Meryl. Let's say you have this whole team, okay? But you don't have Coco Ritter, but you do have Pepper. So that means you got a damage dealing weapon, you have a weapon that will shatter their shields when their shields are up, and you have a healing weapon. Perfect. And since Frigg has Frost Resonance, you're getting that damage boost and that increase of defense boost with Frigg and Meryl. Okay? So it doesn't matter if this 3rd slot is a different element. So let's say you have this team, and you want to stick with Ice because Ice has a lot of crowd control, or CC. It freezes people, it slows people, so that's good. Okay? Well, the best way to go about it is to get strong and to increase your combat score is by increasing the level of these weapons. As you see, Meryl, for example, is level 60, then Frigg is 100, and then Pepper's 100. Okay? Well, how do you increase them? You upgrade them. So let's say I wanted to upgrade Meryl. I'm going to click Upgrade. So to upgrade Meryl, I have to have 6 of this blue stone, 6 of this red triangle thing, and then 6 of this black thing, but I also have to have gold. And as you can see, I'm poor. So I could upgrade her that way, and that will increase her level from 60 to 70, right? So getting all 3 of your weapons to level 100 is the one element of increasing your combat score. But at the same time, you don't want to upgrade too many weapons at the same time. You know, like I have 100, 100, 60, 110, 110. So I got maybe 5, maybe 6, right? Then I have 40, 40, 30, 30, 20, you know, 20, 20. So because you don't have a lot of those resources to upgrade those weapons. You don't get a lot of these. Okay, so that's why you want to stick with 3 as you first start out, just your first 3 main team, and then upgrade them to a point. And I think a good threshold is probably level 100 because that increases your combat score and it gives you a good damage output. But that's kind of a subjective opinion. Anyway, 100 is good level for me anyway. So once you get your weapons to level 100, then you want to increase the stars. Well, how do you increase the star rate? So you go back to upgrade, but your star rate is called advancement. So as you can see here, Pepper is already 6 stars. You get stars from duplicates. So as you go into your special orders and you pull on the gold nucleus banner here, or as you pull on the purple nucleus banner here, or as you pull on the red nucleus banner here, right? You're going to get SR characters and sometimes an SSR character that you didn't want. So right now, if you were to pull on this banner and you wanted Claudia, sometimes you'll get Meryl, or sometimes you'll get a different SSR that you didn't want, okay? Well, that will be a duplicate for you. Also, as you pull on this red banner, it's going to accumulate these flame golds up here for you. Well, once this banner ends in a day, in an hour, and 6 minutes, my 88 flame gold will be transferred into black gold. So I'll have 168 black gold, right? Well, that means I can go to this weapon store and use my 168 black gold and actually buy a duplicate, which I plan to get Coco Ritter. So you can increase your stars that way. So you increase your combat score first off by increasing the level of your weapons, right? The level of your weapons, then increasing their advancement stars, the white stars. Okay, you want to stick with 3 weapons, so you can save on your resources as your main team, and then increasing your weapons in level comes through these materials, which you can get these materials through the dimensional trials. Okay, dimensional trials is right here. Dimensional trials. Alright, so they're really quick runs and they use up your vitality. Okay, so now as it comes to, forgive me, I'm a little sick, you might hear some coughing. So as it comes to duplicates, you got to pull them through the banner system, and you know, not every character has to be 6 stars. I'm only going to 3 stars with Frigg, personally. Meryl, I'm going to replace her with Saki Fua, so I'm leaving her as she is. So you'll have to read through their advancement stats that they get, but every unit gets buffs essentially at advancement 1, the star 1, advancement 3, and then advancement 6. Okay, so that's the second way to increase your combat score, is by getting duplicates. If you notice, my healer team is the highest that I have of combat score. See, I have 30,413, but we started this video at like 29,000. Okay, so that's how you can increase your combat score through 2 elements, your weapons and your weapon duplicates. The next way is by advancing your gear. Okay, here we are, gear. So as you first start out playing, you're going to get gray gear, then you're going to get green gear, then you're going to get blue gear, then purple, then gold. Okay, it goes like that. And it's actually pretty easy to get gear as you start trying. So at first, the way to get gear, you have several ways to get gear actually, but when you first start playing, I'm pretty sure you can get gear. So you can get Frontier Clash, but I don't think that's open for you. You can buy gear from Wormhole, the dust, the gold dust that you get, and the purple dust that you get. I'm pretty sure they give you gear In ruins. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So in ruins, they give you gear. They give you relics for sure. I can't remember though. Do they give you gear? Yeah, they give you gear. Okay. So some ruins give you gear, right? Well, if it's gray gear, if it's green, if it's blue, if it's purple, purple's pretty good, but all the others are just kind of trash. But here's the thing. You don't want to, as you get better gear, as you get purples to replace your blue and your greens, you don't want to get rid of your purples and your greens, okay? You want to keep it. So you don't want to go in here and convert it to, you don't want to recycle it. You can recycle it to convert it to those crystals, but for the most part, you don't want to, and you would rather just collect the crystals elsewhere, because the gear will be used to advance your gold gear. Okay, so right now, once you get to like level 50, you can start going into the joint operations and actually getting gold gear, right? So yeah, at level 55 or 50, I think it is. It's based on combat score too, but you start to get purple gear, and then once you get level 6, or sorry, 7, you'll be able to get gold gear, okay? So joint operations is a really good way to get gear, especially as you use these little chips that you will end up picking up called joint supply chips right here. So this increases the drop rate of the chests in the joint operations, okay? So the best way to go about it is to skip the first chest, skip the second chest, and then kill the boss, the final boss, collect with your joint supply chip already activated, collect the third boss chest, and then if you don't get a gold piece at level 50 or 55 or 60 of gear, if you don't get a gold piece of gear, go back to the second chest and loot that one. And if you don't get a gold piece there, go back to the first chest and loot that one. Because once you open that third chest first, it actually increases the drop rate of the second and the first chest. But you have to kill the boss, open the third chest first, then go backwards. Okay? That was, some info from another video. Anyway, so we've chosen our character, we've chosen our element, right? And now we've upgraded our weapons to different levels, and probably to 100. That would be a good medium. Then we've started to duplicate our specific weapons, our 3 main weapons, right? Based on if we want to be a healer or a tank or a DPS team. Okay, and that will bring up our combat score. So now we're into gear, and we're trying to get from that blue/purple phase into gold gear. So as soon as you hit level 50 or 55, whenever you can first start getting gold gear, I would just encourage you just to do joint operations. I mean, that's what I did. So my combat score is not as high as it could be, just because I started off with the cautious route of being a healer. And so as a healer, I was carried, I was carried through combat, through joint operations, and I picked up gear that way. I didn't plan it that way, but I mean, the healer doesn't typically get hit, so I was carried. But I carried my team as well by producing good heals. So I got carried and I got good gear eventually, but quickly. A lot of people, they can go through the wormhole, right? Like I showed you earlier. If you do wormhole, you actually get purple dust and then gold dust, and you can collect gold dust to actually use to purchase through the commissary gold gear. And you probably will do this. You will purchase, of course, these items too, to upgrade your weapons. But you probably will purchase gold gear through here, because just because you get a piece of gold gear doesn't mean it's great, so for example, I chose ice as my main element. I got Frigg, I got Meryl, and I have Coco Ritter. So this chest piece is really good because it's got frost attack and it's got frost resistance. Okay, but these boots, for example, they suck. I mean, sure, they have crit. That's good. They got a flat attack, but they don't have the element I'm trying to stack. So they're not really helping me in regards to DPS. So I will replace these boots later on as soon as I get better ones. But the thing is just because you go and buy a pair of boots from the commissary, or you pick up a pair of gold boots in a joint operation, doesn't mean it's got the stats that you're looking for on it, the random stats. Okay, so in a sense, it's kind of an RNG thing too. And as you enhance these boots and advance them in stars, they will give you random stats that is based on RNG as well. So I could get Frost Attack if I continue to increase it to 6 stars and in enhancement level, but who knows? So you kind of have to go that way. Most of my gear is Frost Attack, but some of it is not, and I'm going to replace those later. All right. So we have seen that through dimensional trials, we are able to get the materials to upgrade our weapons, right? These materials here come through dimensional trials. We only want to stick with upgrading 3 weapons in our team because these materials are very scarce, hard to get. Duplicating our weapons increases our stars, which increases our combat score. Okay. We've seen flame gold and black gold and how that can be used to progress our duplicate weapons. And now in the sense of gear, we have 2 additional elements to increase our combat score. And so in regards to gold gear, once you get your first piece of gold gear, let's just say you're going for frost element like me. You got Frigg, you got Meryl, and you got Coco Ritter, okay? So let's just say you're going that way and you want to start stacking frost, and you got this chest piece. So this chest piece is good because it has frost attack, okay? But then if you got these boots, it doesn't have frost attack, so these boots aren't that great. You would want to go ahead and increase this chest as a priority instead of these boots, right? Well, you can increase 2 different things on gear. So you click Enhance. Enhancement increases the stats. It gives random stats as well, but mainly it increases the stats through these materials here. As you notice, let's see. So there we go. So here's another one. So advancement module and booster module. Well, these come through Bygone Phantasm. So you have to farm Bygone Phantasm if you want to increase the little green numbers on your gear. Here it is. So it's the endless tower thing. That's what you want to do to increase your gear and your combat score. So these little green numbers are your enhancement level, okay? And so as you get different pieces of gear, for example, my bracers here, the current combat score is 2,544. It's got 4 white stars of advancement. And now let's say, you know, I like these frost attack, but let's say I wanted to start a physical team. I wanted to get Claudia, and I wanted to use Bailing or Shiro, and yeah, I wanted to use the resonance there with Claudia. Well, let's say I wanted to equip these and these bracers here and use them. All right, so let's equip them. Now here it's going to tell you that it's going to transfer your green enhancement numbers, your green enhancement levels. Okay, it's for free, doesn't cost anything. So let's transfer it. Bam. So the 10 is now on this new piece. But if you notice, my white stars did not transfer. That kind of sucks, right? Because that's obviously where the combat score comes in too. So that's why it's really important to level up the proper amount of gold, the proper gold piece, instead of just a random gold piece. Because as you level up, as you advance your gold piece, it takes other pieces of gear. So here, look at this belt. So if I wanted to get my belt from star 1 to star 2, I'd have to put in multiple pieces of gear all the way up to 4,000. and then I'd hit fuse, and it would become 2 stars. But this belt, for example, it kind of sucks. Look at it. So it's got Volt attack, and that's about it. Well, I'm not using Volt, I'm using Ice. So I'm not going to progress this belt if it doesn't have Ice attack on it. So that's what I mean. You can enhance the green numbers, and that will transfer from gold piece to gold piece, but the white stars will not. So that's why I'm saving all these belts, you know? And then, of course, these crystals will increase this bar as well. So, to increase your combat score, then, we have seen that you got to increase these green numbers on your gear. You got to increase these white stars in advancement. You got to increase the levels on your weapons and the white stars on your weapons through duplicates. So that is how you become strong. That's how you do the most DPS. That's how you survive and don't die. That's how you don't get one-shotted. That's how you increase your combat score. Right? So 30,000. Let's see. Of course, rarity helps too. I mean, if you're using gray gear, that's not going to give you any combat score at all. But I've seen people on YouTube who had all purple gear, and they were like at 40k. 40k combat score. Of course, they were whales, but what they mainly did was they increased the green numbers on their gear, and they increased their stars even though it was purple gear. So that increased their combat score. But then, of course, that means they have to do it all over again once they got to gold gear to increase the white stars, even though the green enhancement numbers would transfer. Alright, so when it comes to dealing extra damage, you can also pick certain relics. Sethphir, Sethphir on YouTube does a really good video on covering all of these relics and which do the best damage and, you know, which to use for a healer, all that kind of stuff. So I would encourage you to go watch that. But relics do provide extra damage. So if you're looking at the damage meter, using a certain relic will help you get to the very top. Same for healing. If you need something to just kind of collect to the center of the... if you need all the mobs to collect to the center of the room, so you can heal your teammates better, or something like that. Or maybe using the Omnium Shield. All these increase and help, you know. Outside of that, it comes down to skill rotation. Okay? And this is what I wanted to end with. I'm just going to show you quick this little video from a friend of mine who I'm in his Discord. He is really good to watch on YouTube. His name is Lace, or Lacey. So just listen to him real quick.
And so in this video, what I want to talk about is essentially rotations, optimizing your rotations between all three weapons, having a look at like the different skills that you use, the skills that you shouldn't use, and the order in which you should use them. And so with all of that being said, welcome to optimizing your team's rotation. All right, so to kick things off, we have to actually understand every single character that is going to be part of the team comp. I know this sounds like utterly insane because you're like, oh man, I play with my character every freaking day. But like, for example, did you know that Huma is probably not only the best shield breaker, but also one of the best charges when she is using her dodge attack in axe form? Did you know that Samir's damage is predominantly thanks to the bullet rain, this one right here? And did you know that Meryl's discharge skill is actually almost comparable to that of DPS characters? It's all of these things together that is going to help us form our rotation, because it's going to be like, okay, if they have a shield, we're going to use a shield breaker. If their shield is down, who should we use to actually deal damage? Should we use the Meryl? Should we use the Samir? It's going to be answering questions like that. And the more important thing is to actually find out which of the skills are kind of like useless. Which ones do you not want to be doing? For example, Phantom Kick, when you do the dash, or when you do like the airborne into the hold left click, like this one right here, that big slam, you don't want to do that. You pretty much see that, you're going to be like, okay, well, that's another DPS loss. in the context of like perfecting your rotation, very rarely you're going to want to actually do the dodge and the somersault, because every time you use one of these skills, you're not using one of the more preferable skills, the next best action, right? Very much like chess, there is a best action that you could do next, and things like this and things like this, the slam on the ground, those aren't it. The second thing we need to talk about is the context, right? So fighting a boss like this, an open world boss, would be very, very different to actually maximizing the DPS for example, Bygone Phantasm. And that is the example that we are going to be using today. I'm talking about this one over here, the floor by floor one. If you guys have not tried it yet, it's essentially your Abyss in Genshin Impact.
Alright, so I actually wanted to show you Bygone Phantasm. Just to show you like how to actually play. So let's go to that real quick, and then we can end this video. By the way, that Lace video I will post in the description so you can actually watch it for yourself, because it is really helpful. So just because there is a damage boost to Nemesis and NA does not mean that you have to use them. Okay? So, of course, to get these materials, you got to get to these certain levels. I am at level 60, meaning I need to get to level 69 to get this potent omnium crystal. Okay? So, this is your objective as you play Bygone Phantasm. You want to go in here with a shield breaker, with a damage unit, and it depends on your playstyle and how good you dodge, but possibly a healer, or maybe just someone who gives you a shield like Zero. So this is what you do. And this is primarily, again, what you need to do to increase your combat score. Alright. Oop. I am in my healing team. We do not want that. Actually, let's change this to Coco, just in case. Alright. So, what I do is I'll stand here and I'll just turn my camera and look. Alright, I got 4 people that have big shields. So I'll let them come to me, and then I'll just collect them together. Now I want to introduce damage to them. You see their shields will pop up. There's their shields. Now I want to break their shields. Jump over here, line them up. Break all their shields. Okay. Back to Frigg to do damage. Okay. Let's do another one just to show you. This is somewhat dependent on which characters you choose as your weapons too. But as a general rule, you want a shatter, a damage, and maybe a healer. There's a shield guy, there's a shield guy, there's a shield guy. Okay? All 3 of them, gotta get them together. You kite them around just to collect them. Alright, their shields are out. Now I gotta get my shield breaker discharge. Or I could just break their shield. So now he's frozen. See, that's one of the benefits of ice. Also, I think it's about every 10 seconds is when they get a shield again. So you start hitting them, then they get a shield, you break that shield, you start to DPS them down again, then they get a shield again. I think there's 3 phases of a shield. Okay. So keep that in mind as you're playing this. This is the last one I'll do. Alright, so we got 1, 2, 3 shielders. It's usually the big guys that have shields. So I just, again, try to collect them together, do damage to bring out their shield. Alright, the shields are out, and I'm going to break their shields. I'm going to run to the side to line them up. Finish breaking their shields if they have it. Then more damage. Okay. Now with the frost domain, this ice stuff on the ground, as it disappears, it does a big AoE damage, see? And that's why they died. There you go. So this is how you get those materials for your weapons, and you just want to keep going as high as you possibly can. This is also why it's important to have a healer, because there's like, I don't know, 200, 300, 400 levels of Bygone Phantasm. I think the highest I've seen is like 600 or 700. I can't remember. It's been a while. But this is essentially what you want to do. Outside of that, you've figured out your element, and yeah, you're right on your way to becoming a really strong character. Alright guys, well I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope you go and watch Lace's video. And again, I'll post that in the description so you can see it. Alright man, have a good day, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.